Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I'm back for another episode of my podcast. Let's jump right into it. Someone asked me earlier, what's the biggest lesson that I've learned over the last 10 years? Um, and my response was that sometimes, most of the time, all of the time, if you're being brutally honest with yourself, is that you are your biggest barrier to your success. So I wanted to come on and talk about the fact of like how I made the discovery that the things that was happening in my life was a direct response of the decisions and choices I made about my life, right? And about the things that I wanted to do. And over the last like 3 years, I really have had to get to a place where I was honest to myself, brutally honest to myself about the bad situations, the not so great situations, even the great situations that I found myself in were a direct response of a decision, a choice I made at my own free will somewhere before like the thing happened, right? Before the good event, before the bad event happened, it was a trickle down effect of a decision that I made or a decision that I failed to make, either be it due to people pleasing, either be it to not wanting to disappoint others, either be it to just not wanting to deal with the reality of the fact you got to make this choice, Marthea, right? And the reason I want to talk to you all about that is because you too, most likely, are experiencing the same thing. And you may or may not be in a place to really admit that, right? I always tell y'all that, well, I don't tell y'all. I tell my friends close to me. When I turned 35, it was like, I think I talked about it on a podcast episode, but I know everyone doesn't listen to every episode. But when I turned 35, I remember that day distinctly. I was riding down, it's a main street where I lived in Tallahassee called West Tennessee Street. I was riding up. It would technically be up because I was headed west. I was riding up West Tennessee Street and I was sitting at the stoplight. Oh, I never even thought about this. Ironically enough, the stoplight, the intersection where I was, is where my very first apartment was as a young adult on Basin Street. If you're from Tallahassee, Florida, you know what Basin Street is. It ain't a great place. This was back in what? The late 90s. It ain't where you want it to be. However, I had an apartment on the corner of Basin Street behind, what was that? A Krispy Kreme. It's now Qdoba or something like that. It's a Qdoba. One of those like little Mexican Chipotle type place, but it ain't Chipotle, like Mexican food and quick fast Mexican food. My apartment was back there. It was $500 a month, all utilities included in rent, right? What a time to be alive. Because we know rent is not $500 nowhere. And it was like a really huge one bedroom, one bath. And hmm. So when I turned 35, wow, I need to really go back and look at that deeper. When I turned 35, it was the day of my birthday, and I was riding up West Tennessee Street, and I was at that intersection. Um, and the red light had came. And it was like in an instant. And I remember thinking like it was almost like I saw like the events of my life over the past like 10 years up to that point, like flash in front of my eyes. Literally, it wasn't even like a vision, it was more of a thought. I'm like, my dear, you caused all of that because of the choices that you made and the choices that you failed to make and your willingness to do what you were supposed to be doing. Right. So, wow. At that time, I was dealing with some situations with a relationship I was in, well, technically out of, but I was reflecting on that and how I shouldn't have chose the person in the first place. And why did I even go back? And people don't change. But it was all like I saw all of it in that one instance. And what I learned, let's dissect this. What I learned, and I'm rewriting while I'm talking. What I realized in that split second sitting at that red light was when it came to the relationship, when it came to my friendships, I had no business dealing with the people I was dealing with. Not that they're bad people, because I don't associate with bad people, but it was just because me and them weren't on the same wavelength. Like, if it was a different situation and we were like paired up by a teacher due to our similarities, me and them would have never been paired up. You know what I'm talking about? You know how teachers pair you up, right? Based on different things, your personality. Are you introvert? Are you extrovert? They would have never paired us up, right? So I realized sitting at that red light that I had no business associating with the romantic partners that I had over those years and even the platonic friendships that I had. And I remember thinking in that moment, or being like the thoughts dropping in my mind around, you have given everything you had away. And I'm not talking about physical things. I'm talking about time. Well, let me go back. For me, because I am so emotionally supportive, like people love to come around me in my personal life because I'm a safe space, right? You can tell me how you're feeling. And not in a counseling way, because I'm not a counselor, but a more of you could talk about your feelings because Marthea liked to talk about her feelings, right? So for me, I had given away a lot of minutes of my time, a lot of emotional support. I had literally like supported people through their hardest moments, right? They too supported me because I've had a lot of hard moments. But I realized that I had given a lot of my emotional energy away. I'm writing this down. I had given away a lot of my time, my minutes that I will never get back. I had given away a lot of my physical energy, right? A lot of my mental fortitude because I come on here and talk to you about getting a job, and I don't even know you. Ain't never seen you a day in my life. Can you imagine what I do with the people in my life? So I had given away a lot of mental fortitude where I'm giving people strategies. Hey, you can do this and you can do that, and you can fast track and you can be at six figures by blah, blah, blah. All you got to do is this. I did a lot of that, right? Even in my early 20s, I was notorious for filling out applications for the people I was dating. I don't do that no more. I stopped that. I stopped that in my early 20s. I don't do that, right? Until if you don't focus on you first. Get your job first and then go back and hold the people. But anyway, so I had given away a lot of my emotional energy, a lot of my time, a lot of my physical energy, a lot of my mental fortitude. I had also given away a lot of my how do I explain this? Hmm. I want to say comfortable, like comfortableness, comfortability. What I mean by that is like I do a lot to curate comfortable spaces. So when you come in my space, be it even if we're out and about, but most likely if we're in my home, it's gonna be comfortable, right? So I've created those types of spaces for other people. Like I've went and got people plants and got them comfy blankets and I've given away a lot of those things, right? So for me, and this is something I talked through with my therapist last year, years ago, around like I never was the person to give you monetary support. And I equate it with like, oh, I ain't giving no money. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. However, I was giving them things that were made way more valuable. Right. So when it came to trying to assess from when my eyes were closed, when the skills were on my eyes before I turned 35, like, well, if how do I explain this? if all I'm giving them is friendship, and again, this is romantic, platonic, right? Even familial, throw this in there, right? Because sometimes we attach. I can only give an example. I'm trying to talk around it. You know how like when people are in relationships and I'm in like whoever the key players are, just for the sake of this example, you know how like when a woman dates a man and the first thing like the first way that they tell you to assess if he is using you or not is by are you giving him money, right? And the same thing with friends and family. And they're like, are you giving them money? Are you paying their bills? Are you loaning them money and they're not giving you back? Because I wasn't doing that, never did. Actually, a lot of the situations they were giving me money, I always attested to like, oh, this is good, right? When in reality, I was always giving way more than they were ever giving me because a dollar can be replaced, right? However, my minutes cannot be replaced, right? So when it came time to assess this relationship, I was looking at, oh, I'm not paying, I'm not being a paymaster, so it's gonna be good. When in reality, though, they were winning way more than I ever was because I was giving them my emotional energy. I was giving them my minutes here on earth when I should have been using that to get me to a place of wholeness and fullness before I was trying to pour into other people. And on top of that, I should have been doing what my mama told me years ago around you have to be able to discern who is in a place to receive what you're giving them. And if they are not as a part of your gift, you have to know when it's time to move on, right? And I can say that because my mother has a gift of encouragement. So I think it was around early 30s when I realized like I think I got that thing too, right? It just is different. For my mother, it shows up there in her leadership work. For me, it shows up in just my regular conversations that I have with people. Like the conversation I had with the Lyft driver yesterday. I ended up asking him, what's your end goal? What you working towards? All of the things. He's telling me he's going to own a smoothie truck. He's going to sell some. I'm like, I see the vision. That's my gift. However, what I realized around the 35-year mark was that I had poured too much. I had given too much away and that I had not focused on me. So going back to the original question of the biggest barrier sometimes can be you because I was so focused on everybody else in my life, right? Because at this time, my daughter was away for college. This is why I feel like God gave me this revelation because I was finally in a place to really focus on me. However, instead of focusing on me, I was still focusing on everybody around me, helping friends get jobs and telling friends what they should do and giving them plays and supporting them emotionally when I should have been focusing on Marthea. So over the last several years, the last 4 years, I really have come to a place where I realized that my biggest barrier to my success was me. And it was a reflection of the choices I made. So I say that to share with you that I noticed that that is a running theme with um, people that I work with as a career coach, that a lot of the times the biggest barrier to your success is not the mechanics, the strategies and techniques. Like I tell people all the time, I could teach you everything you need to know in 3 months or less, right? But the biggest barrier to your success is you. So an example when in relationship to career development is if the goal is to get a job in 3 to 4 months, then I'm just making this up, and you decide you're going to apply for 2 jobs a day, Monday through Friday. Monday comes, you do the 2 jobs. Tuesday come, you do 1 job. Wednesday come, you should be doing 3 jobs because you only did 1 job on Tuesday. But then Wednesday comes, you don't do no jobs. Thursday comes, you do 1. Friday comes, you may do 2, right? You're still short because the goal was 2 a day, Monday through Friday. However, you go into your weekend and you completely disconnect. You ain't looking at a job. You're not even thinking about a job. You're probably even out in the world helping your partner, helping your kids, helping your family members, helping people you don't know, because y'all love to help strangers. You're out there selling chicken dinners and moving furniture and knitting and selling arts and crafts in the park and at the farmers market. When you said that you wanted a job in 30 to 40 days, how many days I originally said, and what that looks like for you broken down per day was 2 jobs a day. However, when you get to the end of that 40-day mark and you don't have a job, instead of you saying, I don't have a job because I created that 2 job a day goal. And then on day 2, I fell off and I never really picked it back up. And that's why I'm here on day 40 and I don't have a job. You don't say that. You say, oh, the job market is bad. No jobs are hiring. I applied. They didn't respond. They ghosted me, right? Or you default to, I need another degree. I need another certification. I need another license. I need, when the reality was you were your own barrier to your success. You were the barrier. You didn't, and where you are now, 40 days later, are a direct reflection of what you did not do, the choice you made to only do one. However, on that Tuesday, that first Tuesday where you only did one instead of the two, I'm sure you still made choices around everyone else's life, and you showed up in everyone else's life, and you saw all of the people on your caseloads, and you followed up with the referrals, and then you came home and you supported your mom, your brother, your cousin, your cat, your dog, your children. And then you even called a friend and checked on them and gave them some free counseling. You maybe even looked up some resources. But when it came to you, you only did the one. So when you get to 40 days, you can't blame everything external to you because you still had time for everybody else and you chose not to. So I wanted to leave that with you to ask you, really, and I want you to be honest and drop it down in the comments wherever you're watching this. Are you the biggest barrier to your own success? For me, I had to realize at that red light, Marthea, that's why you're not married. Marthea, that's why you ain't did blah, 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 blah. Marthea, that's why you ain't got da, 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 because you've been focusing on everybody but you. And you are the biggest barrier. And at the root of that, it was the people pleasing. It was the one to be loyal. Y'all love that one. I'm used to be guilty, still kind of am. Want to be loyal to people who ain't loyal back to you. I heard the elder say one time, the only person you're supposed to be loyal to is God. Oh, he said that 8 years ago in Sunday school. Clearly, I didn't pick up none of it because it took me a year after that to have a revelation to actually be left. And that's the truth of it, to be left by a person I had given 11 years to, somebody I was super loyal to, and they got up and left. And that's when I realized, that man in Sunday school told me a year before that the only person you're supposed to be loyal to is God. Not no man, not no human, not no woman. Insert your thing. Not a job, not a cat, not a dog. Right. And so that's the whole heartbreak I went through was a result of me being the biggest barrier to my own success. Because, like I said, I had no business in those situations. I had no business being paired up with those people, even friendships. And I get to the years later looking up, like a few years ago, like, why don't I have any healthy relationships? Why don't I have any healthy friendships? And when I say healthy, it's because me and my therapist were talking about friendships where you really truly support each other. And when I really sat down and critically assessed my friendships, it was always me giving, me pouring, me sharing, me helping, me Me. And it wasn't even because the people, and this is for all the relationships that I named, family, friend, romantic, it wasn't because the people were asking me for the thing. They never asked me. That's the wild part. They never asked me for any of it. It was me giving. And at the core of it, you want to be real honest. And I know y'all ain't ready for this conversation. It's a conversation I was having with my Lyft driver 2 Sundays ago, who's in the midst of his awakening too, just like me. At the root of it, why I was doing that is because I didn't love myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't feel like I was worthy of having people around me without me having to serve them, give to them something. So for you, it may be you giving money. For me, it was me giving emotional support because my emotional support is worth millions. I can make you feel like you could fly and you actually will take off flying. Right? I know I have the gift of encouragement. You can't tell me I know I do. People always achieve the impossible when they're around me if they really are rooted in like making themselves be better, whatever better is to them. Right? But at the root of it, I didn't love me. Even with family, I couldn't be around certain people without giving them things. Here, take this. You want this? You can have this of mine. It's brand new. Take it. I only spent $300 on it. Take it. Never once did the person ask me. And then what? And then I look up years later and I've created this monster who now comes over and instead of me giving it to them, they just take it on their own. And then I'm mad about, well, why they only do that? And why they always come around and just expect everything from me and just take it and don't even ask. Red light moments and at that red light at 35, Marthea, everything that you experienced in the last 10 years is a direct reflection of the choice you made. And it was from a place of not loving myself. I done came on here and shared way more with y'all than I ever expected to. Look, and I thought I had an outlet, but I know it will help you. I want you to answer the question, are you the barrier to your own success? And I want you to drop it down in the comments. Just say yes, no, maybe so, I don't know. Or what have you discovered? Right? Because I talk about careers, but all of this is focused around careers because you ain't going to be able to show up in your career or achieve the things you want to do in your career until you address the root, right? And what really prompted this conversation was, yes, the question that someone asked me, but it was also because I saw something on the internet. I saw something on the internet um from a person. And when I read it, I was just like, they are their biggest barrier to success. They're so great. They're so good at what they do. They could really be top of their field, but they are the biggest barrier to their success. And when you talk to them, they give you a CVS long receipt of who all is responsible. And not once do they say it's them. So now what they do, they spend their time on low-hanging fruit activities, collecting degrees, collecting certificates, collecting trainings to avoid the deeper work of figuring out how did you get here? What is it? What choice or decision or lack thereof is it a result of? And figuring out how to fix it based on what you've identified. So maybe it's because you don't focus enough on when it comes to tasks for you. Maybe it's because busyness has you tied up. Maybe it's because, like I said earlier, you don't love yourself. So you spend your time over giving to other people, which then leaves you tired and depleted and with no time to focus on your own stuff. Whatever it is, insert your thing. But are you the barrier to your own success? Yes or no? All right, I'm gonna go. I got things to do. I love myself now. Let me be clear about that. Marthea don't people please no more. And I'm only loyal to God, okay? And I love me. I love me. And go back and watch some of my old videos. You can see there has been a clear progression. That's the other thing about the lessons I've learned over the last several years is life gets better when you do your work. When you honest with yourself, when you say, this is where I messed up, and this is where I messed up, and this is all right. Happy macro career planning. Bye.